Hello, hello, hello. Sorry about that, folks. I'm a little bit late. Yeah. Just scrambling around trying to get things done. Hope everyone's good. All right. Easier session than Monday today. That's the idea anyway. Yeah, we've got a model we've drawn a couple of times fairly recently because I think she's really fun to draw and great poses and great shape language. So yeah, should be a fun session. Yeah, hope everyone's good. Just checking the chat. Welcome, new members. Good to have you along. Hopefully you found the link to the reference in the community chat. It's all there, so you'll find the reference hosted on my website. Okay, let's get cracking. Change camera. There we go. So let me just review the poses real quick. What should we start with? A 15? Let's start with a 15. Thank you, Donna. Thanks for the tech check. Okay. Yeah, lovely, lovely ideas going on here. Let's see if we can do her justice. Really want to emphasize this really nice dynamics she has between the upper and the lower torso. Iliac crest, inguinal ligament, roughly there. Let's find our center line. Her proportions are, look, obviously they're fairly standard proportions, but there's something just very, very playful about the design language, if that makes sense. Something like so. This leg is on this box. It's sitting somewhere here. The foot supported on that. Where are you, Richard? Asked Linda. I'm here, Linda. Where am I geographically? I am about 25 minutes outside of central London on the train. And you can look it up. I'm in a little town called, well, I'm just outside a town called St Albans in Hertfordshire. Little market town. Oldest market in the UK, apparently. Oldest market town in the UK. And the road I live on is the oldest road in England, apparently. So there you go. And many a famous person was carted along this road outside my house to have their head chopped off in London. So there's a nice little fact for you. Back in the day, sternocleidomastoid coming up this way. Pectoral coming across the form here. How are the trains there? Says Rick. Horrendous here in Philadelphia. It's a loaded question. I'm lucky I don't have to take them too often. The train system here is a privately run affair, and didn't always used to be that way. You know, the trains have their issues, but honestly, the main issue with the trains here is their price. It's horrendously expensive to travel by train in the UK, especially compared to the rest of Europe. It's disgraceful. But you know, I'm lucky I don't have to deal with them too often. Her jawline is doing something like this. Okay, all right, we're at 5 minutes. Joyce, okay, so if you go to my channel page and you go to the community tab, also it will depend on whether you're on an iPad or not. If you're on an iPad, Margot will give you instructions on how to find the reference. But if you're on a computer, if you go to my channel page and you go to the community tab, the first post down, you'll see a message from me and a link to the reference. Let me know if you can find it. Thank you, my BC. Thanks so much. And from Twitch, look at that. One of the few people on Twitch that know my channel exists. Because, yeah, the Twitch thing is quite different to the YouTube. It just doesn't seem to be, the stream doesn't seem to be registering over on Twitch, unfortunately, all that often. But you're very welcome. Not so in Italy, the trains are superb. Absolutely, the trains are superb in Italy. Jaeger, could not agree more. Train system in Italy is fantastic. Yeah. Never had an issue with the trains over there. Love to visit London, says Margot. Cotswolds and Cornwall. Well, those you could do a lot worse than to visit those 3 places for sure. Yeah, my parents used to. They lived in the Cotswolds for a time. Actually, in a town called Cirencester. Although they did live outside of that as well, kind of a little bit more rural at one point. But that was kind of after I left home. So other than visiting them, I never really got a chance to enjoy it. Let's work through. What are we at? 9 minutes? Okay. Any new story, Richard? Ah, Hemant, you're a taskmaster. Do I have any other stories? I'll have to think. I gave you a pretty good story last time, I think. Right? And that one's going to be hard to top. But maybe I'll think of something. Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about a dog story. You want a dog story? Well, I've got a couple of funny dog stories, but they're rather what's the word? I don't know if they're right for the stream. Let me think about it. Let me get into the groove here. See, this would be handy if chat was a little bit more of a two-way street, because then it wouldn't just have to be my stories. I could hear some of your stories. One thing that has become apparent to me, at least in my own mind, recently, actually the last few days, kind of since doing that hand session, that abysmal, embarrassing hand session, where I felt really, I was really kind of upset with my work. Made me realize I need to go back and study my anatomy more. So I do want to try and find a way to incorporate that, and maybe it's something that we could do together, and have some fun with it. So I need to figure out exactly what that would look like, but I've been resting on a knowledge base which I haven't been exercising enough. And I need to change that, because I feel like there are certain things I should be able to conjure up a little bit easier. I've got to find a way to get away from charcoal. I need a break from charcoal, I think. I'm looking at seeing if there's a way I can incorporate. I know we've discussed it many times on the stream, but I want to see if I can't find a way to make the graphite work on the stream. So yeah. given that a lot of thought the last few days. As some of you may have seen, I posted on Instagram today some old anatomy studies I did a long time ago. I used to really enjoy doing them, but I haven't done any in so long. And I want to get back into that. And there's our 15. Okay. Okay, that'll do for a warm-up. Cool. That's nice. You know, Rick, that's something I haven't done in a long time. I used to constantly sketch in front of the TV or when I'm sitting on the couch, and I have it all set up there at my board and the whole thing, and I haven't done it in so long. And I think part of the problem is the only time I'm drawing these days is when I'm doing the streams, and it's not good. It's turned out to be not enough. Don't tell me you shot your dog. No, I didn't, Rick, because I'm not an animal, if you know what I mean. No, I'll give you the brief version of the dog. When we lived in LA, okay, hold on, let me start the next pose here. I'll tell you, it's a bit of a disgusting story, but I think you'll find it funny. I found it funny. My wife didn't find it funny, and you'll see why. Well, that sounds lovely, Margot, unless you have hay fever. Constantaneous, what's up? Sword Gaming says, hi, I'm from India, I'm an artist, 25 years old. I want to improve anatomy. Give me the best piece of advice. Do anatomy studies. How about we try stone carving? You know, don't get me started. I love the idea of sculpting. Can you talk about your proceeds? I think maybe you mean process, Linda? Proceeds. I don't have any proceeds. But yeah, I can talk about my process. Well, we've got a tricky pose coming up. And then Tina says, can you talk a bit about finding proportion? I'm fumbling around today. First the body too long, then the legs too long. Maybe describe your process. Sure. Here's the thing with... In all seriousness, I'll get to your question about bangers and mash in a minute, Constantaneous. The thing with proportion, you see, I'm not a big, you guys know, you've heard my rants about heads high and all that nonsense. If we have upper torso, all right, lower torso. Let's just have a quick sidebar here. Feet are going to be coming down approximately down to here. right? Got something like that. Okay. I don't like the heads high, the 8 heads high thing. This is a wretched form of measurement in my mind. Because it's just simply not practical in any meaningful way, as far as I'm concerned. So, but one thing we can look at very roughly, we want to find our torso first, right? Largest forms of the body tell us the most. What do I mean by that? Well, we don't want to start, if we've got a hand out like this, we don't want to start at the fingertip and draw down, right? We'll never find proportions. But if we can find generally the proportion of the upper and the lower torso, we can then start to have a really good sense of using that as an anchor. So if I've got my upper and my lower torso here, I know, for example, these pencils, these Primos, are just too soft. I like them, I really like them, but they're so soft. If we go from here, to the bottom, roughly, and I can already tell now that my legs aren't long enough, the pubic bone right here is about halfway. So I know actually my legs need to be down to about here, right? The pubic bone is about halfway. About halfway between the pubic bone and the feet, halfway there is just below the knee. Okay, something like that. Subdivisions that I think are kind of useful to keep in mind. From the manubrium, the pit of the neck, to the xiphoid process, which is the pointy bit at the end of the sternum, to the navel, which is halfway between the bottom of the rib cage and the top of the iliac crest, to the pubic bone. This one's always a bit longer in my opinion. These are roughly evenly spaced, right? But here's the thing, here's my issue with this as a process, as a concept. As soon as we bring foreshortening into the equation, all of those measurements go out the window, right? Now, yes, you can make an argument that, well, you know, you can, you know, there's ways to, tools and ways to adjust for that. It's just too cumbersome a concept for me. My general, the way I answer this, because I believe that this is the way I learned, is through repetition. And an exercise you can do is just drawing kind of small, work this formula to death, okay? And just keep working through it as an idea to get your proportions right. And it's going to just take a lot of repetition, right? That's what a lot of it comes down to. You want to develop an intuition for looking at something and being able to have an internal measurement system of, okay, this is roughly here. And I'll talk now as my process as we go through it. And I think that the way I build up the form, there's a logic to that process that helps me measure as I go. So let's draw the next pose. Constantaneous bangers and mash is sausages and mashed potatoes. A particular kind of sausage, pretty standard. There you go, Donna's got it figured out there. She's giving you the heads up. VR art as a medium. I don't know enough about it, and I don't care, to be honest. I think that's, well, at the risk of just sounding, I don't know, sounding more like what? Virtual reality as a, you know, virtual goggles and art inside the virtual space. I just don't care. It just doesn't interest me. It's not something I want to do. I'm sure people will do stuff with it, and I'm sure it'll be exciting and cool. I'm too old for that stuff, Hemant. It's not the way, if I'm going to spend my time developing my craft, it's not going to be in a VR space. Just no interest. You might as well explain bubble and squeak. I don't know if I know what bubble and squeak is. Don't know. I feel like I should. I probably do. As soon as you say it, I'll go, of course that's what it is. Is the length of the pubic bone the same in men and women? As a general rule, yes. But this is why this point of measurement bothers me so much. Like, take Michael Phelps, for example. He's an incredibly long torso in relation to his legs, right? So this 50-50 split thing, you'd have a room of 30 people. Very few people are going to visually fall into that ideal measurement. That's why it bothers me as a measuring system. And yes, you could say, well, if you strip everything, all the bone, or sorry, all the muscle and all the fat and all of that off the skeletons, it's not how we look at people. It's not practical. But yes, generally speaking, Margot, there's the obvious differences between the men and women, right? Narrower shoulders, wider hips, this type of thing. But other than reproductive or genitalia, men and women are very, very similar. There's a couple of small subtleties, but generally everything is roughly in the same space, apart from the obvious. Pastel or charcoal, which is better? Depends what you're doing, Noah. It doesn't help, Tina, you're right, it doesn't help, and I'm tired of it being pawned off as a system that all those people that teach that system, they don't bloody well use it. They don't use it. They teach it, but they don't use it practically because it's not a practical system. And like, I'm measuring by the head, one of the smallest elements of the body. How do we use that as a measuring system? It's ridiculous. Sorry, I'm ranting. Bubble and squeak, it's cabbage and sausage. Google is your friend. Potatoes and white sauce baked together until it bubbles and squeaks. Sounds disgusting. Mashed potato bubbles, Brussels sprouts. Also sounds disgusting. Oh, you have wild ducks. How nice. Okay, let's draw. What are your thoughts on clutch lead holders? Sure, you can. Yeah, why not? I'm using a pencil holder right now. It's not so different, really, is it? That's how I get to make these little micro pencils. You see, you can really get a lot out of it. I could probably get more out of this too. Oh, that's the plan. But yeah, the clutch lead holders, why not? My only problem with them is, like, it tells me that you're probably drawing too small. Because I think that's one of the biggest mistakes people make learning figure drawing, is drawing too small. I mean, I really do think it's a problem. Is a large stick of lead in a clutch holder like cotton more good? Yeah, sure. I think people put too much emphasis on trying to, like, if it works for you, it's good, right? There's a lot of people that would look at the system I use, this pencil and this paper, and say that's a terrible combination. Works for me. Okay, more bubble and squeak. Leave you guys to the bubble and squeak. What is the manubrium and the fibula? Is the bump on the lower right and left perimeter of the fibula? Okay, well, the manubrium's up here. The manubrium is at the pit of the neck, right? And it's what the clavicles are attached to. The fibula is the thinner bone on the outside of the tibia on the lower part of the leg below the knee. Okay? Okay, let's draw. Let's draw. Okay, let me talk about my process while I do this. Well, this is a tricky angle because it's a down angle. Let's find our shoulder, the axis of the shoulder line. It's almost universally the first thing I try to find. Almost always. Then we've got this lovely curve to the spine coming down this way. And I'm already thinking, because it's a down shot, right? The model, we're looking down on the model, so I'm already starting to think about, I'm not going to draw cylinders here, but I'm already thinking in that kind of space. Right, if we look down, we'd be looking something like down like this. And I want to be thinking in those terms, right? In actual fact, that'll work very nicely for the sacrum. Coming down this way, and the iliac crest going around the form. So yeah, we can use that. That's kind of handy. Okay. But when I'm drawing foreshortening, I'm trying to think volumetrically, how is this thing sitting in space? And this is where it comes back to the sculpting thing. We want to be thinking more like sculptors. Right, like we want to be thinking about volume and mass. We want to be thinking around the form, where something's come from, and where's it going to. We're not just copying. Hopefully, we're not just copying a series of shapes. Just finding the scapula roughly. Very loosely. This one's going to be maybe about here. So if you can find the distance between the axis of the shoulders and let's say the axis of the, in this case, the sacrum, the sacral dimples here will give you a sense of the axis, right? And then we come down from the sacral triangle here, come down to the gluteus, and this kind of gives us the overall distance here. Now I can measure where my legs are in relationship to that, although we have, I call it severe is maybe the wrong word. We have foreshortening, right, on the legs because of the down view that we're looking at. But once again, I'm trying to think about this as a volume that's going away from me. And I'm looking, like, for example, I'm looking, coming down to the gluteus here where they separate. And I'm just using as a measurement, okay, I think I'm actually over here. Right? You can use a very simple shape for that. Something like that. And I'm trying to use that measuring, getting a sense from what's going on here. So I'm constantly looking over the page at where things are in relationship to each other, right? Rib cage is sitting in here. So yeah, this is a slightly tricky pose to explain the standard process, if you know what I mean. But as we go through the session, I'll try with each pose to hopefully at least bring some new idea. So now I'm looking at where the pit of the knee is here. And where is it in relationship to the other one? It's kind of over here, right? Once again. And I find it's really useful to draw these kind of, what I call, probably incorrectly, topography lines around the form to give me a sense of the direction the form is moving in space. So where are these feet in relationship to each other? I can already feel like I'll need to massage these proportions a little. I'm also using the volume, the negative space in here, also just kind of, this space in here as a kind of, yet another kind of way of just double checking where I'm at. And even, you know, if my torso's here, yeah, this foot probably is over here slightly, so I'm going to probably have to shift that over a little bit. This is a tricky pose to explain this process, but anyway. Get my butterfly motif in for the gluteus, sitting in there. Now, if I come across to here, yeah, my elbow's about here. It's actually, there's quite, you know, there's more foreshortening on this pose than you might think at first glance. So I'm going to need to, yeah, this is, it will need massaging. But when I have foreshortening, from when it's a foreshortened pose, I tend to shift gears and get away from looking for long lines of action and think more in terms of boxes and cylinders to try and orientate what I'm doing. That's great, Constantius. Yeah, look, I think that there's, never lose that desire to be curious. That will get you a long way in life. Now we've got this spine comes this way. She's got quite the turn in her neck here. Trapezius coming down this way. Occipital ridge is sitting about there. Ear is about there. She's got that bum that we were discussing last time, which is really handy for helping us understand the orientation of the head. Yeah, this is a very, very I need to pull this up a little bit, I think. Rib cage coming down here. Oblique is sitting here. Then we're coming into the gluteus sitting there. Phew. Oh, it looks like an absolute mess on the screen. It will hopefully clarify itself once I... Hopefully. Let's see. But yeah, it's a tough angle. I thought I was going to make it an easy stream today. What am I doing to myself? Glutton for punishment. Okay, so deltoid sitting in here. I'm just gonna do a different song. Okay. You can see the acromion process sitting right here. I'm failing to get the downward look. Just looks like she has very squatty legs. You know, that's funny, Marco. You and I have the same problem. It is a problem. Yeah, I need to raise the sacrum to here, which might actually help with my squatty legs. Rich is an animation veteran of the industry. What advice would you give me when studying animation? Do I study in hourly increments daily, or should I take hours? Studying to be an animator, Constantaneous, or just studying? Not that it really matters, to be honest, because you're studying should kind of be similar, regardless of what discipline you're going into. And what I mean by similar is all I can say is, in my experience, those at the top of their field in animation are generally obsessed in a good way, and they're as a hobbyist always doing animating for fun. All I can tell you is, yeah, people that I know that are animators are animating multiple hours a day. Like, you know, as a hobbyist, I don't know what to tell you. I'd say do it as much as you like, right? If it's a hobby, there's a low level of commitment. If it's something that you really want to get good at, you're gonna have to be, you know, really focused on your study. And you know, animating till 4 o'clock in the morning, if you know what I mean. Okay, this is a brutal pose. I am not enjoying it at all. We'll go a few more minutes and then I'm going to abandon this sucker. And I know that's really bad form. I don't care. I don't care. It's Thursday. And after Monday, today was meant to be Easy Street. Why did I pick this pose? There's another downward pose coming too. I'm an idiot. Yeah, in my opinion, just generally speaking, those who are really good, regardless of the discipline, animation, could be watercolor, generally those who are at the top of their game are generally obsessed and put in long hours. And you know, for example, you know, I'm drawing right now. I'm only drawing a couple of times a week during these streams, and it shows. And I need to take my art more seriously. Problem is, I have so many other things going on, other interests, and things that are just taking up all of my practice time. And I need to reprioritize. Plus, I need to do, and it's coming, like literally starting next week, there's going to be a bunch new educational material on my channel. I'm going to be recording, and I need to be in better shape than I am. You can't just rest on your laurels. And I'm not in nearly a good enough practice. I've got no right to be teaching anyone anything right now. And I do drawings like this, and it's like, yeah, that's right. All right, what a horribly ungraceful drawing I've done. Forgive me. There's no salvaging this mess. And it's 19 minutes. Let's move on. Thank you for your devotion to the stream, Richard. We're very grateful. And Margot, I'm very grateful to all of you. This stream got me through some really tough times last year, honestly. And it was very self-serving in that respect. And I have every intention of continuing with the stream. The stream's not going anywhere. I'm about to go somewhere. I need to go and get my landscape board. Sorry for the microphone noise. I'll be right back. See, I should have had this ready to go. But yes, part of the problem is that, as I said, I don't practice enough. And that needs to change. Alrighty. And it can change. That's the beautiful thing with life. We can always shift gears. Okay. Let's see what this is going to be like. That will do. Lulu, what's up? You're getting so good at art, you got bored because there's nothing to learn. So you let yourself, ha ha ha, you are hilarious. Okay, let's dissect that comment for funsies. Thing is, you were getting so good at art, you got bored because there was nothing to learn. I know that that's tongue-in-cheek. So you let your skills rust a bit so you can have some more fun. Well, no, but here is the reality. I do think that, you know, you go through, you know, we're talking about life now, right? Like a long journey, not just 3 months, 6 months, or even a year. Like, you know, I've been drawing what? Let's say since I started my professional career. So I was 15 years old. So that's what, 38 years ago, something like that. It's inevitable that over that period of time, you're gonna have periods of activity, and we won't say inactivity, but less activity, right? I'm glad that helped, Tina. And so, you know, we have to think about this whole process and art as a lifelong journey. I know it sounds cliche and all that, but it's true. And so I don't beat myself up too much about it. It's like, you know, I go through... All right, sorry, let me reset the clock. I think we'll probably go at 20 on this one, guys. Let's plan on that. And so, yeah, there are some years I'm more inspired than other years. There are years I'm more active than other years. There are some years I'm more prolific than other years. I think that's okay, right? Like, you can't go full steam constantly. You do need to there does need to be balance. So guys, just coming back, just what am I looking at? How am I measuring this? One of the things I'm looking at here, even though it's obscured by her arm, is I'm looking at the distance from the shoulder to where the direction changes here, right? So I'm really kind of looking at this step that then comes this way and then almost kind of goes in this angle as this leg then comes down like so, right? So I'm really using that kind of, that relationship between that and that is telling me a lot. And even then the distance between there and where that direction change happens, which is further down the form, obviously that's where the hip is, it's further down the form than where, say, her iliac crest is, which is sitting probably more about here, right, which is closer to here, probably around there. So yeah, like, but I'm having, in this long journey of life and art, I'm at a point where I want to push again, right? Last year was about survival mode in many ways, and I was just glad to get through the year. But I want to improve. I want to get better. And so I need to put in the work. It's simple. I sometimes get flashes or ideas of what the drawing should be. For me at least, my journey with it. And I know I'm not there yet. And I've got things I want to say, hopefully, with my work, that I haven't said yet. And so, you know, the journey continues. So this arm is actually coming towards us there. And then we can see that arch of the rib cage kind of sitting in here. You get a sense of that going down that way. Wrist is sitting about there. This hand is actually dropped a bit more like this. Sitting in there. Okay. The best things are self-serving in my experience. People who do things just for others tend to be not only messed up, but foobar in a lot of cases. Not always, but quite a lot. Well, you can't. It's a very interesting point, in as much as it's one of the challenges with art is really, at its essence, it's an incredibly selfish pursuit, because it's largely, at least in the production of it, it's largely a solitary process. Right, I know we're here drawing. What I mean is, like, you know, when it comes to like family and that type of thing. And so, you know, when you have a family and you're juggling all those things, it's not always easy to kind of duck out for the amount of time required to you know, to truly hopefully do something decent. So yeah, it's a constant kind of ebb and flow, and trying to find balance, and inevitably you know, someone ends up, or there's the potential for someone to feel like you're not giving enough attention to a particular thing. I've been incredibly lucky that I have arguably one of the most patient wives that you could possibly ask for. Between my music and art, she's put up with an awful lot of my selfish pursuit. But you know, I think the toughest scenario is when you've got two people in the family that are both artists. That can get really, I think maybe that's even trickier. My wife is not an artist. You know, she's, luckily for me, because I think if she was, that would cause all kinds of, potentially could cause all kinds of friction. You know, it's bad enough you've got one selfish person that wants to spend their whole time practicing their art or their music or whatever it is. If we were both doing that, that could get tricky. I know that's not quite the point you were making, Lulu. Sorry, I'm just rambling. Richard, how do you keep your desk that much clean? Hemanth, okay, you want to know one of the secrets to life, my friend? Keep your space, keep your workspace tidy. I thoroughly believe that cliche of your space and your environment is a reflection of how your mind is. I can't, unfortunately, just quickly turn the camera, but generally my whole workspace is tidy. And I get very irritated very quickly if my workspace is a mess. So it's imperative for me that my workspace and my office is tidy. Then I've got the mental bandwidth to do stuff. I could not work in a messy environment. It would drive me to distraction. You're just you're doing yourself so much, I believe, you're doing yourself so much of a disservice if you're working in a messy environment. Yeah, I really do believe that. Interesting that you would notice, which would suggest that maybe you're not working in such a tidy environment. Is that what I'm getting here? I don't know. I'm projecting, but you shouldn't be looking at my space thinking it's tidy. Let me just put it that way. At my level of skill, says Joyce and John Clinton. By the way, welcome Joyce and John Clinton. Do we have the pleasure of speaking with Joyce or John? If you wouldn't mind telling me, I would appreciate that. At my level of skill, what you're teaching in anatomy is so important and helpful. Well, thank you. I'm so glad to hear that. Really. Okay, let's see if we can tidy this drawing up a little bit. This is quite the mane she has, which I'm not going to be able to do justice to, but we'll kind of get some of that in there. We tried drawing in the round at Life Drawing last night, says Margot. I see that you're throwing this at Jaeger. I'm just going to maybe throw my 2 cents in. But the most difficult thing was to get the lighting right so that it wasn't in some of our eyes. Yeah, put the lights down low. Have the lights pointing up or hanging from the ceiling pointing down. What you don't want, obviously, is the light in people's eye lines as you're... Generally, especially if you can't just suspend things from the ceiling, Margot, low is the move. But maybe Jaeger's got something else to add to that. 38 years ago, that's my age, it's the end of last month. Yeah. Yeah. I remember 38. Okay. Linda says, is it better to sit or stand at an easel while drawing, or whatever suits one? Linda, you might not like what I'm about to say. And the rest of you have heard this rant many times before. I think working at an easel for drawing is absolutely the worst way to go. If I thought working at an easel was good, I would be doing it, Linda, to be honest. Here's my problem with working at an easel. Your arm is up, and so your shoulder is constantly under tension. And with that tension comes the lack of ability to be accurate in what you're doing. I'm sitting here. Now you could be working with your board sitting on your lap against a table, for example. But my arm is completely relaxed. Gives me the opportunity to draw from the shoulder and the elbow. If I'm up like this, I'm losing so much range of motion. I would strongly advise and suggest that you not draw on an easel. All right, rant over. You can go full steam constantly, right up until the engine melts. Well, that's the problem. That is the problem, Lulu. Now, brachioradialis, coming down this way. Attached, why is it called the brachioradialis? This muscle? Anyone? Well, it's attached to the brachial ridge up here, and it's attached to the radial bone, right? So it comes across like this. So there you go, brachioradialis. It's often a fairly logical reason why some of these things are named what they are. And I think the brachioradialis is the most important muscle of the forearm because it's our overlapping muscle. J Mark Guy, there's a lot going on there. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I hadn't drawn consistently for 15 years. Recently decided to get back into it. It's taken months to just do something decent. Enjoying the journey. Yeah, I know the feeling. Rust is real. And it can take a while for it to shake it off, so to speak. Generally with drawing, I never have too long a gap where rust is an issue. It does happen occasionally, but I do have it with music. And sometimes it can take me weeks, especially if it's been a long gap. It can take me weeks to get back to fighting form, so to speak, if you know what I mean. Wow, 17 minutes already. Yeah, we're going to probably be going on this one for a while, guys and gals. Let's see. We've got that box-like wrist sitting in here. All our joints, when we get to the joint intersections, things tend to get a bit box-like. So it's a useful little thing for us to keep in mind. Be careful of that shape for the left breast. I'm going to hold off for right now because I feel like I may have to change it slightly. It's one of those things that if I draw it just the way it is, it could end up looking a bit weird. Let's see. Come back to it. Well, I do say, after saying all of that about rust and drawing, I did take about a 4-year break from figure drawing at one point. I don't honestly remember how heavy the rust was. I'm sure it was extreme, but I don't actually recall. Okay, so we've got our oblique sitting in here, coming down, meeting up with the very subtle turn for the tensor fasciae latae right there, then coming around to the gluteus, sitting in there. Subtle passage, that. Exactly, Lily. It's that time of year, warmer and such. Yeah, right. There's something to be said. There is something to be said for that. Springtime. It's almost like, you know, we talk about New Year's resolutions. It almost feels like they should be springtime resolutions. I feel like we'd be more inspired to do them if there were a commitment we made in the spring. Okay, so just looking at this, coming around, aces is here, iliac crest is here, so I know my oblique is here. It's a very, very subtle passage on the model. So I just want to try and get it right. Oblique coming down then. Gluteus medius, and then coming down to the passage for the leg. Okay. Take care, Tina. Tina's probably already gone. I'm only seeing her message now. Favorite British comedy movies? Monty Python, Holy Grail, The Life of Brian. You know, it's funny, like, of all the British humor, it's this, that stuff I find it hard sometimes to, you know what it reminds me of, that British comedy? It's kind of like the British equivalent, I think, of Saturday Night Live, or, you know, like American kind of, that kind of American humor, which, no offense, Americans, I can't abide. Saturday Night Live, in my opinion, is some of the most unfunny comedy. How it becomes such this American institution, is absolutely beyond me. It's not funny. It's just garish. It's like the kind of humor a 14-year-old would come up with, a lot of it. And it's like, that's not to say there aren't some great American comedians. There are. There's some incredible, obviously, I'm not stating anything new here, some incredible American comedians. But the way that this Saturday Night Live is held up as the gold standard for comedy is absolutely beyond me. It's a self-congratulatory pomp, and it's just not good. I'm sorry. I'm probably offending you guys. I realize that. I'm taking that chance. You're better than that. You're better than that. See, that's the problem. And smarter. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? That's the question. Comes back to the Holy Grail, and I guess, you know what it is this kind of absurdist humor, right? Monty Python and John Cleese. Like, you know, like you take Fawlty Towers. It's funny, but it's so absurd, it's kind of exhausting. Does that make sense? That's my feeling on it. But I get it. I do kind of see why people are into it. But of all the comedy out there, I think that, for me at least, this stuff that resonates with me closer. All right, now check the chat. Everyone's gone. Just alienated most of you. But thank you, Margot. Margot said, fun to be on this journey with you after the tough year has passed. Yes. I'm way behind on the chat. Oil painting chatter. Samuel, what's up? Drawing. That's what's up. Methinks and Mrs. just smart and lets you do your stuff. That's funny. All right, I need to fast track this. All the comments I've just missed. Sorry, I'm just catching up here. No offense taken. Thanks, Margot. Glad to hear it. It was 14-year-old humor. Well, hopefully you were 14. Okay, caught up. Let's keep going. Oh yeah, I'll tell you the dog story. Okay. So it's when we were living in LA, and our dog Lily, she was a black lab. She was a gorgeous girl. She's no longer with us, unfortunately. But my wife, we were living in Burbank, which, just for reference for people, it's about a 25-minute drive-ish from downtown LA. Maybe 20 minutes in light traffic. And we had one of those kind of minivans, right? You know, for the kids and that. And our dog used to go everywhere in the car. That dog used to just love sitting in the passenger seat with her head out the window like she owned the place, right? And she would get so excited when it was time to get in the car. She had to go. It was never an issue, right? It was, she was going. So anyway, my wife had to drop our daughter to, my daughter got a job. One of her first jobs was doing something for a lawyer in downtown LA at the courts. It's where most of the courthouses are, that type of thing, right? And my daughter had to be there at like something like, I don't know, I think it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. So my wife, very kindly as she does, you know, volunteered to drop my daughter to work because of the early start and all of that. So they all get in the car, including Lily, of course, the dog. She has to go. And they head off to downtown LA. And it was just literally, so my wife gets to downtown LA and she's literally just dropped my daughter at the court. And our dog decides that is going to be the moment to inform my wife that she has a bout of explosive diarrhea. So the dog, this diarrhea is so explosive and aggressive that the dog is even freaked out by it. So the dog is sitting in the front seat next to my wife, and as this hose-like effect of this stuff coming out of her, the dog starts turning in the car. And so it's literally like a hose being sprayed around the car, covering my wife, covering the car, every surface of the car, windshield, seats, the seat she's in. The dog, so freaked out, she scampers into the back of the car, taking the hose with her and spreading the joy to the back of the vehicle. And my wife had to drive home, the 20-minute drive. She's like, it's still dark out, right? It's, you know, it's early. You know, the sun hasn't risen yet. And my wife had to drive home the 20 minutes back to Burbank, covered in our dog's misfortune. And so my wife gets back, obviously. By the time she gets in the house, she's, you know, she's got PTSD. Like, this is not going well at all. And it was so bad. We tried. So then it's like we've got the monumental job of trying to clean this mess up. And so, you know, I head off and get the steam cleaner from the, you know, the rental from Ralph's or somewhere like that. I forget where it was. But there's no cleaning. Like, you know, this is like trying to clean this situation up was as bad as anything. I ended up having to remove the front seat out of our van, and I must have hosed that thing for a good 15 minutes. Finally get it to a point where you think, okay, it's clean. The seat is completely soaked. Literally had to unbolt it out of the car. But then the seat is soaking, obviously. And now this is LA, so luckily it's hot. But that seat sat outside of the car for probably the next 2 months, because we tried putting it back in. Like, you know, this is like a few weeks later, and immediately you're like, oh, no, there it is. Take it back out, go through the process again. We ended up making a road trip that took us through Vegas and way out, like a long road trip, right? We were going to make it to Monument Valley. We never actually made it that far. And we did the whole trip without the front seat in the car. So whoever was driving, and then the rest of us piled in the back of the car, and the dog sitting on the floor where the seat used to be. So there you go. Yeah, you did ask Hemant for a story. There, you got one. Hope you're welcome. All right. Now, if there's any of you left, that's it for now. See, that's how I weed out the non-committed people. But yes, absolutely outrageous. This is right up there with the cat strimmer story. That was finally I had a story that doesn't even quite compare, but finally I had something in the same realm as my wife's story once the cat strimmer story happened, yes. Animals, the things we do for them, huh? Isn't that funny? Like, and I know we wouldn't have it any other way. Well, we would probably happily not have that, but we put up with so much for these little critters. I'm just glad I wasn't in the car, to be honest. Okay, so let's see, we'll add a bit of tone to this area for the form, and hopefully that will explain not to be sexist, but I do think women sometimes have stronger stomachs for that kind of thing. Oh, that's not sexist at all, Margot, it's fact. It's absolute fact. There's no doubt about it. My wife is a far stronger character than I am, really. In all things, really. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Like, you know, most people that know us all will kind of all agree that she is the better half of this this situation. You know, there's no doubt about it. Like if that had happened to me, I would have just taken the car down to the LA River and set it alight. That would have been the end of that. What happened to the car? I don't know, stolen. All right, 37 minutes on that one. Good Lord. Well, that was a bit of fun. All right. It's not terrible, Lulu. Thank you. Was the car a Mustang? No, it was a what's called a Toyota Sienna. It's like a minivan. It was the child for, you know, the kid mobile. Never owned a Mustang. Not really a Mustang kind of guy. Not really a car kind of guy, to be honest. You know, cars are fine, but for me, they're a functional thing. Joyce. Okay, yeah, so there is no real kind of magic trick to the reference. You'll need to have that open on one display or on one part of the monitor and the live stream on another. You could have the live stream on a phone, right, or something like that, depending on what device you're using. Margot's got some. Using iPad, use the split screen feature. There you go. Put the reference photo on one side, and you can actually blow up Richard's drawing as he does it. I use my phone for chat. You see, there's always a way. Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, Joyce, there's no way for me to have it just kind of magically come up on the screen once you're a member or anything like that. I studied your drawing, even helped my sculpture vision, says Savat. Is that how you pronounce your name? Thank you, Savat. All right. Oh, another brutal pose. All right, we've got 20 minutes left and we got 3 poses. And this next one is going to just... Why did I pick this? All right, we've got 22 minutes, 3 sevens. How about that? Seems like as good a plan as any. We've got the long poses out the way. Yeah, let's do 3 sevens. Or something to that effect. I do have 2 computers in front of me, but thought it was excessive to do that. Joyce, I have 3 displays in front of me, and it doesn't feel excessive at all. I have my reference, my chat, my music, and OBS, my streaming software. Use them and abuse them. All right, let's reset the clock. Quick sip of cold tea. Tic tac. Okay, let's do it. 3 7s. Rib cage sitting in here. It's another one of those odd angled poses, but hopefully it's not going to take years off our life like the last one. Large rhythmical ideas, right? Coming through this way and then coming around from here. This leg going away from us. Rest about here. Also pressing F11 to full screen. The browser is great for workflow. Is it F11? Yeah, I've never used those function keys. I'm never sure what they did. I think I tried once. Didn't get the result I was expecting. That was the end of that. In some ways I'm quite tech savvy. I'm also very impatient with tech. And yeah, just sometimes I'll try something. If it doesn't work, we're done. That's the end of that. She's holding a stick there. All right, we've got 3 minutes. Let's see what we can do here. Sorry, focusing here. Seconds. All right. That'll do us. Get that one out of the way. Thanks. Okay. Yeah. Look, that could have not great, but it could have ended a lot worse. Thanks. It's true. You know, sometimes the faster poses just help you just kind of stop overthinking things. Maybe that's it. All right, let's reset the clock. 7 minutes. Okay, lovely. Look at the way the relationship between the upper and the lower torso. This is generally speaking, a female trait. The hips getting pushed back like so. And this other arm is coming out like so. This music feels appropriate somehow. Right, this needs to be pulled in at least to there. Four and a half. Yeah, Lulu, aren't they? I was talking before, like I think before you arrived, just how interesting this model's design language is, if that makes sense. It also, I think a lot of it comes down to she clearly is very much understands her spatial she has great spatial awareness, right? Which is very, very appealing shape language. And it's interesting, you know, you could have a model just as athletically fit, let's say, as this model, but somehow the shape language just wouldn't hit the mark in the same way. It's a very interesting kind of phenomenon. I don't know why. I don't know what you would attribute that to, but yeah, I'm not doing her justice at all, but I really enjoy drawing her. Okay, there's our 7. Yeah, very anatomically detailed, I agree. But not overly so, if that makes sense. Yeah. Pleasure to draw. And the photo set for this model, hey guys, I know I don't hawk products on this channel probably nearly enough, but if there's one photo set to buy from Grafit Studio, there's a link on the reference page. This is the one. It's like 1,800 poses of this model, and they're fantastic. We will be getting to more of them as time goes by. But you know, if there's something that you like to do, it's one of the ones I would say is well worth it. Yeah, agree, Lulu, with the storytelling. Yeah. Okay, last pose, folks. Let's do it. Okay. So, this is going away from us. Odd tilt to the hips here, quite tricky. Yeah. Okay. Hey, Chris. We are wrapping up here, my friend. Last pose. But glad you could make it. it's against the clock, so everyone's really focused. Yeah, we're doing okay. You missed some lovely stories today, Chris. They were delightful. One minute to go. All right, there is our 7. We made it. Ice Typer, you're a little late, my friend. That's a wrap, guys. Good session, tough poses, not as easy as I had promised myself, or you for that matter. But we got through it. You know, a few bruises to show for our efforts, but that's the way it goes, right? Good practice. So, it's Thursday, right? Yeah, Thursday. We'll be back Monday. It's going to be a zoom-in session, let's say, and I think we could. It was suggested for someone or asked for us to look at the knee. So we'll look at the knee, we'll zoom in on the knee, and maybe we'll encompass a little bit more than just the knee, you know, we'll look at the leg kind of thing, and maybe the back of leg too, which I think gets ignored. So we'll do that on Monday. So that's that. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. Please, if you wouldn't mind, you know the drill, hit that button on the way out, it's appreciated. And yeah, we'll do this all again next week. In the meantime, have a wonderful weekend, and look after yourselves, guys. I'll see you on Monday. All right, cheers. Bye.